Hello, I'm David Rubenstein, and I want to thank you all for joining us in a panel we're going to have today that is a really terrific panel. And I'd like to just go through the backgrounds of the people that we have on the panel because it truly is an extraordinary group of people who know this subject quite well. Alphabetical order, Dr. David Thomas, who's the 12th president of Morehouse College. He previously served as a professor at Wharton and at Harvard Business School and was the dean of the business school at Georgetown. He has his undergraduate and master's degree and his PhD from Yale. Ebony Thomas is the Senior Vice President of ESG and Public Policy at Bank of America. She's been at Bank of America in a number of senior positions for a number of years. And prior to Bank of America, she worked at a number of other organizations, including Prudential and Ernst & Young. She's a graduate of North Carolina A&T. Eduardo Padrón is the President Emeritus of Miami-Dade College. He was the president there from 1995 till 2019, just last year. He's a graduate of Florida Atlantic and a master's and PhD from the University of Florida in economics. He's a native of Cuba and came to the United States at the age of 16 without speaking any English. He built Miami-Dade into the nation's largest college, and for that and other things, he was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2016. And Dr. Suzanne Elise Walsh. She became the 19th president of Bennett College last year. She has her undergraduate degree from Cornell and her law degree and a master's degree from Case Western Reserve. Previously, she had worked in leadership positions at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Lumina Foundation for Education, the Lumina Foundation for Foundation for Education, and the Heinz Endowment. So thank you all for joining us. And why don't we just start right at the beginning and let me ask David and Suzanne, historically black colleges and universities have had an important role in our country's history. Can you speak about the experiences that they provide to students and why they're so important to maintain? Why should we maintain historically black colleges and universities? So David, would you like to go first?
Sure. And, my my answer here is anchored in Morehouse College because I did not attend a historically black college, but I've had the privilege to be president here for 3 years. And I would say first, it starts in terms of the experiences provided here with this is an environment where students, I think, feel welcomed and challenged in ways that are not always typical at predominantly white institutions. And, as you noted, I was a faculty member at Harvard and Penn and dean at Georgetown. And I remember when I was at Georgetown, I made an observation that I didn't see African-American students at award ceremonies when we were giving out academic awards. And so I spoke about it to my faculty and staff. I spoke about it to my students. And some of my students came and said to me, who were then juniors and seniors, how in their early time at Georgetown, they just didn't feel like anybody saw them for who they were when they arrived. And I think here at Morehouse, I see the exact opposite. Students feel seen. And where you feel seen, you feel empowered, and it builds a sense of confidence. And I think in addition to, outstanding education from just a purely book learning sense, this creates an environment where students realize their full potential and they feel seen, and that's very unique. Second, I think another underlying value for these institutions is the notion of leadership and service. Almost from the time, I know it's true here at Morehouse, it's even in our mission statement. Leadership and service, no matter what vocation you go into. And the last thing I'll say is, the way I describe Morehouse and what's really unique about it is that we are the only institution in higher education singularly committed to the production of Black male excellence at scale. You can go anywhere and find a few, but you can't go to any other graduation in America and find 400 ready to go out into the world and be excellent. in one place on the planet, and that makes a difference
And
for our students.
so who was Morehouse? Who was Mr. or Miss Morehouse? Who is that?
Great question. And this will relate if you start to ask us about funding. Morehouse was the head of the philanthropic arm of what was then the major association of Baptist churches in the country. And they were the primary funding source for Morehouse College. We were originally the Atlanta Baptist College. And Mr. Morehouse essentially gave the college a lifeline that kept it open after Reconstruction. And so in 1921, we renamed the college for Reverend Morehouse.
Okay. So Suzanne, can you tell us what your view is on historically Black colleges and universities? And can you explain why colleges like Bennett, where you are exclusively female? Is there an advantage to having a historically Black college and a historically female college as well?
Oh, absolutely. I think that this is a moment in time where it's really important for us to remember that historically Black colleges are built for purpose. And so while there's a lot of talk about equity and inclusivity around the globe, whether that's about gender or race, a place like Bennett College, we're built for this. And so this is something that's in our DNA. And what I think is really important about it is it means that our students on a daily basis don't have to worry about gender or race being part of the equation. And so when you think about the energy that students expend just getting through the day as a student, studying, worrying about, do I belong here? Do I not belong here? When students go through that phase, they don't have to ask, is something happening because of race or gender? They can focus on their studies. They can be stressed out about studies, but they don't have to be stressed out about these other components. We absolutely, from the beginning, have lifted up women as leaders. We started, quite frankly, as a coeducational institution in 1873. And in 1926, we became a women's college because increasingly it was clear that there needed to be a place for Black women to be able to study, to be able to have the kind of supports that were needed as the country was changing. As we just heard earlier about the exhibit at the Smithsonian, America was becoming a very different place in the 1920s for women. And so Bennett College became single gender at that time. I think the other, oh, please.
Who was Bennett?
Oh my God, great question. Because Mr. Bennett, Lyman Bennett, was a white man from Troy, New York. What was he doing investing in this historically Black college in North Carolina? He saw something special in Bennett and invested. He made the first large donation, $10,000, so that the college could purchase the land to build physical resources. We were founded in the church basement of St. Matthew's United Methodist Church. And so this was our ability to be able to set up a campus. But that was a gift. It's sort of like, is that the last time that we received an investment from an independent philanthropist for purchasing land or capital expenses? I think it may have been.
Of all the totally historic Black colleges and universities, how many are female only?
There's two of us, Spelman and Bennett.
Okay. All right. I won't ask you which one is better, but I won't ask.
I mean, it's okay.
Okay. So, Eduardo, Miami-Dade is the largest and most diverse community college in the entire country. Can you tell us about who the students are? I assume you have a fairly high Latino population, but I don't know. And what percentage of your budget actually comes from the government? And has that been going up and down? Or do you depend on philanthropic contributions or government and tuition to kind of keep the place going?
Thank you, David. Miami-Dade College, it's basically a microcosm of the community that it serves. It's very large, very diverse, as you mentioned. The student body of that institution is minority majority, including both Hispanics, African Americans, and many students from the underserved communities. Is the first, is also most of the students there are the first generation Americans, immigrants. The majority of the students at Miami-Dade College are first in their families to attend college. 65%, listen to this, 65% are low income, 46% live in poverty, and over 70% have to work and go to school, and 35% of those work full time. Now, these students, I call them heroes and sheroes because they really represent the best hope for America. These are students who are intent in succeeding and getting out of the cycle of poverty. And in spite of that, all the challenges that they confront, Miami-Dade College ranks among the top in retention rates, graduation rates, transfer rates, and placement. This is something that the institution is very proud of because it has been able to develop a culture of success where the students know that the only way into becoming part of the American dream is by getting a college credential and the skills that are necessary to succeed in the 21st century knowledge economy. By the way, Miami-Dade College graduates more minorities than any other college or university in the nation. But the thing that I'm most proud of is economic mobility. Miami-Dade College is ranked as #1 in Florida among all colleges and universities for the mobility, economic mobility of their graduates. And also it's among the top 4 in the nation. Now, you asked the question about funding. We are a state institution. Miami-Dade College depends on the state for its funding, operational and capital construction. But the problem is, like most community colleges, it's an institution that is totally under-resourced. At Miami-Dade College, the last 12 years, we have basically, let me put it this way. We have today about 15% less in operational dollars revenues from the state than we had in 2008. And the state just imposed a 6% holdback on the budget allocation on top of that. So it creates a very critical situation when you're trying to serve students who are very vulnerable, who really need all kinds of support. These are students who even make use of the food pantries on the college campus because of the fact that many of them do not have enough to eat. But they're students who I am so proud of because they are determined, they know that the only way that they can escape poverty is by doing what they are doing there. So it's something that really, sends a message to the entire nation. And frankly, community colleges in general reflect basically the same picture that I have given you about the college.
So how did you escape from Cuba? Did Fidel Castro say, I don't want you here and you can go, or did you had to sneak out? How did you get out of there?
I was not wanted. My parents worked through the Catholic Church to send me over to the United States. I learned the day before that I was coming to the United States with no knowledge of the language, no knowledge of the culture, and not even $1 in my pocket, only with what I was wearing. And I was one of the lucky ones that was able to be sent out. Frankly, I have no regrets because America opened the doors to me. I'm able to have done and accomplished by the fact that I was able to come to this nation and have a future.
Okay. So Ebony, you chose to go to a historically Black college, North Carolina A&T. Why did you choose to do that? And any regrets about going there as opposed to any other college you could have gone to?
So thank you for the question, David. And what a great question. It's interesting because I actually was on my way to University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. My uncle had graduated from North Carolina A&T and had felt that I needed that experience. He was convinced that I needed to go to A&T. And so we made a deal that if I went to A&T for the first semester, he would pay for it. And if I decided I didn't like it, I could transfer. Well, needless to say, 4 years later, I came out with a multitude of confidence, a great sense of belonging and understanding of my place in the world, my place in society. And I think David and Susan and others have talked about it a little bit beforehand, but for me, I've had a bird's eye view of being at a historically Black college, not only as a student. At one point, I was a public school educator. I worked for organizations where I recruited talent, and now having the opportunity to really direct the deployment of this $1 billion, my view has really been that of, I've worked alongside some of the most amazing minds in the world, and they've come out of historically Black colleges and universities. And so the myth around that there's no talent, there's not a pipeline of talent, is just that, it's a myth. Because the reality is that, you know, we only account for about 3% of the total, you know, universities of higher education, and yet produce 20% of those that are coming out undergrad, and then about a third that are coming out from a STEM degree. So just imagine if that funding was increased, and we've done that in spite of the funding challenges that we've had with historically Black colleges and universities. So if you imagine what that could look like as we move forward in the next 150 years, those institutions can produce a lot more of that talent that we see Dr. Thomas, Dr. Walsh see on a day-to-day basis that will ultimately enter these great institutions and really influence where money is being directed over time.
So as a Duke graduate, I can say you made the right decision, not going to UNC. But, so in your job in human resources, no doubt you run into a lot of people who've gone to historically Black colleges and those who haven't. Can you actually tell after a conversation with those who've gone to historically Black colleges that they have gone there just by the way they talk or they act or the way they have self-confidence? Do you see a difference?
I mean, look, I've recruited for a number of years for a number of institutions, and from a host of majority campuses. David taught at Wharton. We recruited a ton of students out of Wharton, out of Bennett, out of A&T, out of Morehouse, out of a number of schools. And I wouldn't necessarily say there's that line or that sentence that differentiates that talent that may come from, say, Miami-Dade or any of those institutions. But I think what happens from an HBCU perspective is that we come out with, again, this sense of belonging and purpose and mission, and that confidence exudes from us because we know we're entering a space where that armor will be chinked at on a day-to-day basis. But that sense of grit, that resiliency that I believe, again, there's a bias there coming out of a historically Black college university, that bias of resilience and grit really overcomes. We see that in the halls of many of our large institutions. We see it at the halls of Bank of America, where many of our top senior Black executives have come out of historically Black colleges and universities. And so while I wouldn't say there's a single moment or, again, an issue or a sentence that can differentiate the talent, I think the success of that talent over time and how they are able to advance their careers with these organizations, I believe that the HBCU structure, family support has definitely made a difference in their overall success.
Okay.
David, can I just jump in for a second? Because I think your question is a great one. I'll just give you one database anecdote about this. As you mentioned, I've taught at Wharton School, taught at Harvard, dean at Georgetown. And at one of those business schools, we were noticing that Black students were disproportionately represented in students who went on academic probation and who also decided to leave. So we ran a study, and what we found was that students from the historically Black colleges were much less likely than our students from what might be thought of as more elite schools to find themselves in academic probation. So they were more likely to be successful with the rigors of business schools like Wharton and Harvard than were students from some of the most elite, predominantly white institutions in the nation. And I think the difference was a sense of confidence that even though things were thrown at them that they hadn't seen before, they had that confidence that they could overcome it. and it didn't lead to some of the self-doubt that I've seen in students who may do well, but who come out of predominantly white institutions where there wasn't an expectation that they would do well, and they had yet to really have deep confidence in that, in themselves.
Now, you went to a traditionally white school, more white than black, Yale. Did you feel at the time discrimination there or racial prejudice when you were there? And how did it affect your life?
Yeah, it's a great question, David. And when you're there and you're 18 years old, and especially if you're like me and you came out of a segregated black community, which I did in Kansas City, Missouri, I didn't quite know what was happening until I got to my senior year, and I had gone from being a struggling student to being a student who was essentially making straight A's. So I had figured it out, and I realized that I had been at Yale for 4 years. I had never gone to a Yale-Harvard game. So I didn't feel attachment. I left Yale, and I didn't have a relationship with one professor. And in fact, when I was trying to get into graduate school, I asked some of the professors who I had gotten A's from to write me letters. And I thought it was just based on, hey, I got an A in your class. And I had to apply to Yale, to Yale's graduate school twice because I got rejected the first time. And my advisor showed me a letter that one of the professors wrote. And he wrote a letter that said, David Thomas did well in my class, but I never thought that he would be applying to Yale.
Well, by the way, I'm a member of the Harvard Corporation. It's called the Harvard-Yale game, not the Yale-Harvard game, just in case you ever have to say that again, okay?
Well, David, you were there, you were at Harvard before I joined the faculty. They brought me up there to raise the quality of the gene pool, and now they know it's the Yale-Harvard game.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Robert Smith gave a very famous commencement address at Morehouse recently, or about a year ago, I guess it was. And he managed to say that he was going to give everybody in the class money to pay off their student debt. Did you know that was going to happen in advance? And have you been able to find other people willing to be commencement speakers because they all feel, hey, I don't want to be, spending $40 million if that's what they're expecting to be from a commencement speaker. So is it hard to get people to follow Robert Smith? And did you know in advance?
I knew in advance that Robert was going to do something because he had already given the college a 7-figure gift the year before when we gave him an award. So I knew he was going to do something. I didn't know he was going to do that. That was a total surprise. And it turned out to be a $34 million surprise. I have not been able to get any other billionaires to take my call when their assistants ask what does he want to call about, and I say I want to talk about commencement. By the way, David, I think a call from me is buried on your desk.
Well, okay, but you have a person, Reed Hastings, recently with his wife. Reed Hastings with his wife, Patty Quillen, gave you a fairly large gift. I think is it 65 million or something like that?
$40 million.
$40 million. Okay. So did that just come out of the sky, or did you have to call them in advance?
No, Reed and Patty had visited the college about 16 months before, had never visited the college. I think it was their first visit to a historically Black college, spent about half the day with our students and left making a 7-figure, at that time, low 7-figure commitment to the college. And then as they got more engaged, and I think motivated by some of what we saw happen this last spring, the combination of COVID and its disproportionate impact on the Black community, and the second pandemic that's been revealed in our country, which is systemic and institutionalized racism, they called me up and said they wanted to do something significant, and they knew the needs of the college. And when, I had told them the thing that keeps me up at night is affordability. They came with the $40 million and a request that I not ask either one of them to be the commencement speaker.
Okay, but you can.
So they bought their way out of it.
Okay, so let me ask Suzanne a question. Suzanne, your school is like most schools dealing with COVID, and we all know that the complications, but is your school doing everything remotely now? And because African Americans have been disproportionately affected by COVID, has it disproportionately affected the families of the parents of your student body? And how do you think it will affect students when they come back to campus when COVID's behind us?
Well, we are 100% virtual. We were the first in North Carolina to announce that we would be virtual. This was back in June, and we were one of the first in the country to announce. And the only thing that went into our calculus was the health and well-being of our students. And what we were concerned about was the fact that our students it's a predominantly Black institution. And so our students are Black women, our faculty and staff, predominantly Black women. And with that, most have the comorbidities associated with being vulnerable to coronavirus. So we looked first and only at the health and well-being of our students. We had input from colleagues of mine from the Gates Foundation. Dr. David Allen, who's an infectious disease doc, helped us. One of our alumna, who is a social epidemiologist, Dr. Sherelle Barber at Drexel, she helped us look at the data to say, where is the country going? What are the impacts specifically with African Americans in the United States as well as women? And that was the thing that went into our calculus. So while we are a tuition-driven institution, money was the very last question. I was unwilling to experiment with students' lives. We didn't know where the disease was going, and so we wanted to be proactive. I think it was the right decision. We just had a town hall with students recently where they said, they're not happy to be virtual, but they get it and they appreciate that we focused on their health. So how has it affected our students, faculty, and staff? Our students are still vulnerable. It's like we didn't take away the vulnerability. And so within their families, students have been experiencing either family members with coronavirus. We've had students who've actually had it. We've had staff, even though we're not on campus. So it continues to wreak havoc in the Black community across the US. And I think the other challenge for us becomes when we come back, we'll come back, but it will be probably not until the fall of 2021. And by then it will still be pre-vaccine. And so we have to be able to make sure that we're able to care for students when they get sick, because coming back pre-vaccine in person means students will be sick. And for a small community, on the one hand, our smallness is our strength. And on the other hand, it means we don't have the same resources that other institutions have. And we have to be ready to be able to redesign the campus from a physical perspective to be able to deal with this. We have to make sure that we have access to testing. We have to be able to quarantine and isolate as needed and contact trace. Those things all cost money. And when you're doing your budget, usually you didn't have pandemics as part of your budget. And now we all have to start planning a budget that includes public health resources that we have to figure out where those resources will come from in order to be able to bring our students back in person.
Now, Suzanne and David, what percentage of your students are not African American? Do you have students who are, let's say, ethnically Chinese? Do you have students who are ethnically Latino? Do you have whites? And why would, say, a white student choose to go to a historically Black college? Suzanne, can you answer that first, and then Dave Thomas?
Sure. So we've always had students who are non-Black attend, because while we are historically Black, we were not exclusively Black. And I like to cite one of our alums who was in Hiroshima when the bomb exploded there, and she came to Bennett. So a Japanese student, way back was in attendance. We also had exchange programs with places like Mount Holyoke, but we have about probably only 1 to 2%. It's a very small percentage of our students are non-Black, but we also have Hispanic students. We've had Chinese, we've had Palestinian students, Moroccan. And I think that's what makes for a rich environment. Our goal is not to somehow shelter students from the world. It's to say, how do we lift you up and make sure that you are anti-fragile, that you know how to adjust to a world where it is going to be diverse in many ways. And so we continue to welcome students of all backgrounds.
All right, Dr. Thomas, the same answer?
Yeah, about 5% of our students identify as other than Black. That includes white students, Asian students, biracial students, and international students. We have in the past had white valedictorians. And to Susan's point, we're a historically Black college. We've never been exclusively Black. And so there have always been students on Morehouse's campus and in Morehouse's classes who did not identify as Black and who did identify as white. And it's an interesting question you also posed about why a white student would come to Morehouse. And I've talked to some of our white alumni about that, and I get two answers. One is there are white individuals who actually grow up in Black culture. And you know, one of our alums I spoke to was actually adopted by a Black family, and Morehouse was where he felt most comfortable. I've also had white alumni tell me that when they were in high school, you know, they were around people who talked a good talk about civil rights and equality, and they just realized they had never been anywhere where they had not been in the majority. And if they really wanted to be a soldier, if you will, in the fight for equality, they needed to put themselves in a situation that they see Blacks experience all the time.
Okay, I got it. Eduardo, if you're a public college, as you are, do you still try to get your graduates to give you money when they graduate or when they become wealthy donor potentials, or do they just say, look, you're getting your money from the government, I don't have any obligation to give you money? And why is it that we often read about people now giving money to historically Black colleges, but I don't read about people giving money to historically, let's say, Latino-oriented colleges? Why is that?
Well, the fact of the matter is that, you know, most public colleges and universities who are public, people assume that the government is taking care of them. But a quick review of the history of funding for four-year colleges and universities shows that there is severe underfunding in most of the country. So when it comes to community colleges, it's even worse. You take the case of Miami-Dade College in Florida, the dollars per FTE that we get from the state are less than half what the public universities in Florida get for the same education for the students. And even compared to the K-12 system, our college gets about a little bit more than 1/3 of what the school system gets to educate the students. So there are significant disparities in the terms of funding. As far as fundraising, it's no secret that traditionally philanthropists, whether it's individuals or it's foundations or corporations, have really been more intent in supporting more selective institutions, institutions where the students are wealthy, comes from wealthy families, and also students who institutions who are ranked at the top of the nation, even though I believe that this issue of the ranking is an interesting one, because they based most of the ranking in terms of how many students you keep out as opposed to how many students you bring in, right, David? So we know that. And the understanding that we have is that, you know, any investor, any philanthropist who really want to make a difference in America today, who want to really deal with the issues of racial equity, economic mobility, and by the way, the highest return on their investment will invest in institutions like Miami-Dade College, like the one that Dade and Suzanne represent. There is no question about that. And So we keep working hard in trying to get this attention, but so far it's very difficult. We were very fortunate to have a Miami family who has already contributed over $130 million to the college. And that have been, a very important saving line for us, because otherwise we would not have the monies to support the students that they so badly need, especially during this pandemic. Just to give you an anecdote, which is not really an anecdote, but share with you during the pandemic what happened at Miami-Dade. We found out as we decided to go virtual that over 3,000 students did not have computers at home. So we have to invest in getting these students computers. And then we found out that more than that did not have either internet or high-speed internet at home, making it very difficult for them to be able to do the work, do the homework and everything else. On top of the fact that many of the students live in situations where they don't have the most adequate circumstances for them to concentrate on their studies when they're at home. So it really complicates things, but I believe there is a new renewed interest in institutions. HBCUs is most definite in terms of community colleges, and also four-year institutions who are Hispanic serving institutions to be able to provide the kind of support that they need in order to continue to make the contributions they make to America today.
Have you ever thought of looking for a wealthy donor whose last name is Dade, and you could say, we're going to name this college after you?
Well, it's already named after somebody with the last name of Dade. It's
Okay.
Miami-Dade College, right?
Right. Okay. So, Ebony, when Bank of America announced that it was going to give $1 billion to deal with the racial inequities in the United States, did you all of a sudden get a lot of friends that you hadn't had before, people calling you up, asking for some of that money?
Certainly a lot of friends, but I think all for good reason, right? You know, what a commitment. What a way to lead from the front when we think about who we are as an organization, our core values, and the urgency in which we saw in that moment. I think David talked about it earlier, right? The disproportionate impact that the pandemic was having on these communities of color. And then to add on top of that, the pandemic that had always been undercurrent, that always had been there. This systemic issues around racism and economic inequality now are really highlighted. I mean, the light is shining so bright that you really can't hide from it. And so then the opportunity to say, we are going to act, not words, but this is our action. And our action will be rooted in this commitment to these Black and Hispanic Latino communities. And part of that commitment, I think, all of what's been described here today, and we agree with when we think about the role that community colleges will play, the role that Hispanic serving institutions and historically Black colleges will play in this re-energizing of education. It's really about the alignment of career pathways with post-secondary education and aligning with that of the labor market needs. And so when we think about the work that we're doing right now and our jobs initiative is those three things, focused on how do we take local communities that we've supporting, so 21 communities across the country, a number of these institutions that we want to partner with, and then align them along with Bank of America with other organizations, other companies within those markets to really bring those jobs to the table. That notion that we're not just training talent for training, but we're training talent or supporting that talent through jobs and opportunities and commitments that we know exist not only right now, but also those skills and jobs for the future. And that's what we believe, is the really economic mobility and driver of many of these communities. So we could not agree more. And the $1 billion to be the catalyst of that, I mean, there's so much more work that we have to do. We're just a little over 90 days, 120 days into this work, and this is a 4-year initiative. But we think, the jobs piece, the healthcare, small business and home ownership for us are really those wealth creators that we believe will support the communities.
So Bank of America has provided $25 million to the Smithsonian to enhance racial dialogue, and that's a very terrific gift. Who does the Smithsonian thank the most? Can we thank you, or we thank the CEO, or was it your decision, or can you say it was your decision even if it wasn't? What happened? How did we get that money?
You know, it's a collective decision as we think about it. I mean, Brian, obviously our chairman and CEO, as well as all of our MTN members are truly passionate about the work and the partnership that we have with the Smithsonian. And so I think to be able to have that unique partnership with the Smithsonian, that we have now the opportunity to take all of these wonderful learnings and conversations that the Smithsonian can offer to our communities, where we can really be proximate to our people and to the issues and concerns that are really happening. And so it's an exciting partnership. We're looking forward to it. There are many on the call that we have exciting partnerships with. And so more to come as we think about how we'll deploy this capital over the next 4 years.
Okay. Dr. Thomas, what is the greatest pleasure of the job you have, and what is the greatest challenge of the job you have?
The greatest pleasure of the job I have is every morning when the students are on campus, I wake up and I walk to campus. And I reflect on the fact that there are 2,200 men on this campus, and one of them will grow up to be my Martin Luther King.
Okay.
That is to say, someone who will change the world in a profound way. And the highest likelihood is there'll be more than one. And the highest likelihood is that that one will be a Black man. And I get to do that every day. I'm from a family of 4 boys, parents who didn't go to college. So in some ways, I'm finishing out my career by living my biography.
And can you, as the president, go into the records and see how Martin Luther King did as a student? Can you go get his report card, or you're not able to do that?
I already know. And that's the other great thing about being here. Martin Luther King was a C student.
C.
He was a C student. He got 1 A, and it was in, no surprise, the class that taught preaching. So he was a C student. So that's also, right? I can't cherry pick.
Okay.
I don't know who he's going to be. So I got to deliver for all of them.
One of the graduates of your college made a famous speech there once. It was President George W. Bush. And he said, to all of your C students out there, you too can grow up to be president of the United States someday. Okay. So Suzanne, what is the greatest pleasure of your job?
I think, students, I'm with Dr. Thomas on that. I can be found wandering the residence halls in the night just to check in, see what's happening. So the students bring a lot of joy because it's the possibility. We can see that possibility in them sometimes before they can see it in themselves. And then our alums, when our alums tell the stories, the arc of, I didn't know that I could become the woman I've become. I mean, what a great place to be able to support that kind of thing. I love one of our alumna recently talked about Bennett, affirmed who she was, affirmed who she could be. And I think that that's just an incredible place to be. So any place that allows us to help support women of color to become the next leaders, the women who are not necessarily leading out in front with the name that everybody knows, but the women leading from the behind and doing the organizing, that's incredible. 60% of our students were arrested during the Greensboro protests at Woolworth, 60%. And it was behind the scenes. They were planning and organizing behind the scenes, and how critical that was. So I look for those women who will be leaders, but maybe behind the scenes leaders, as much as I'm looking for those women who will be out in front in the name that we recognize. It's a great place to be.
Okay. Eduardo, for nearly 25 years, you were the president of Miami-Dade. So what was the greatest pleasure of doing that for 25 years?
Well, just like my colleagues, I think that's what we do, and that is seeing our students who are so intent on succeeding, dealing with all the, very issues that they have to face and challenges and obstacles, succeed and do well and become contributors to our nation. I think that's the greatest joy for any college president. Because that's why we chose to do what we do.
Have you ever been back to Cuba?
Yes.
And do you remember any of it when you left? Is it all the same or nothing? I assume the cars are the same.
Not, yeah, that's very much so, but nothing looks like what I remember that it was. And it's a totally different country.
Okay. So Ebony, what is the greatest pleasure of your job? And I assume the greatest problem is you have people calling all the time for money, but what's the greatest pleasure of your job?
Well, the pleasure is in that. The pleasure is in hearing all the amazing ideas and opportunities that we have to really make some transformational impact to these Black and Hispanic Latino communities. So the joy in having conversations with individuals, bringing these ideas to the table, whenever I hear about a new announcement or new commitment, you know, it makes me feel amazing to work for an organization that was out leading from the front. But it also still just provides an immense amount of joy to know that these communities that have been underserved for so long are really now getting the attention and the resources that they need, but also making sure that we don't take our foot off the pedal, that this moment is a movement and we have to keep going and we have to continue to invest in these communities, invest in these institutions, historically Black colleges, HSIs, community colleges, because quite honestly, those students, and it sounds so cliche-ish, but it really is the future. And for this economy to really come back and to reach its full potential, every single person is gonna have to be engaged and involved. And that includes our Black and Hispanic Latino community members.
Okay, so we have 4 minutes left. So each of you have about 30 seconds to answer this question, if you would. Do you have now, or did you have when you were younger, a role model that was somebody you aspired to be or somebody you currently aspire to be? And let's start with David Thomas.
Yeah, I have to say, my role model was my father, who without a college education, he didn't even graduate from high school, was just a man who portrayed everything, you know, that I think a man should be and do in terms of serving his community. He was the president of our block club, his church, his family, and I've just tried to emulate him in every walk that I've taken in my life, and he continues to be my standard, and I have yet to meet it. And I'm 64 years old.
Well, I'm sure you will meet it at some point. So Suzanne.
I mean, yeah, it's going to sound cliche. My parents, my father was white, my mother was Black. They got married the year after the Loving decision. So these are two people who were fearless and never met a risk they weren't willing to take. And so I continue to hopefully live in that same vein.
Okay, Eduardo.
You know, it's amazing to me how all of us here in this panel have so many common experiences. And I would say my mother, because my mother only completed 3rd grade and yet was one of the most intelligent women that you'll ever meet. And I learned a lot from her. And I remember I owed everything that I am in many ways to her and my father, but especially to her, who made me promise when I left Cuba that no matter what happens, even if I go to bed hungry, that I would go to college. She said to me, in America, if you don't go to college, you will not have a fair chance to succeed. And that I took to heart. And even during the most difficult challenges in my life, I went to college, and I wouldn't be here with you today if it had not been because that wise advice that I got from her.
Okay, on Ebony, role model.
You know, I have to round it out and say my grandmothers. I mean, when I think about their role as the matriarchs within my family, their strength, their courage, their confidence have just been things that I emulate, even in the face of just crisis. Neither one of them were able to finish high school. My mother's mother didn't have more than a 6th grade education, but how intelligent she was, how she understood the world and how it worked, and how that knowledge was just passed along to her grandchildren. And so, you know, I will close and say, to Eduardo's point, we all have so many common experiences and that of our family, and particularly my family, was tremendously influential on me and who I've become.
Well, for all of you, I would say that the people that work with you and the students at your organizations and colleges no doubt see you as role models. So I want to thank all of you for being terrific role models and participating in our conversation today. And hopefully many people watch it will realize that there are opportunities to provide additional philanthropic support to colleges and universities like yours. So thank you all very much for participating. Thank you all.
Thank you, David. Thank you.
David.